Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And as folks join, they can read the captions from what we just said. So welcome to Drupal's place in composable DXP strategy, hint it's key. Today we're going to spend some time talking about digital experiences, what a digital experience platform is and can be, and how to think about Drupal's place within DXP and capitalize on its composability. We'll definitely be reserving time at the end for questions, but as Dave just mentioned, feel free to use chat to submit questions as they come up. We structured this a little bit more panel-like in the spirit of keeping it a little more conversational, although we do have a presentation prepared for you today. And with that, I will kick off introductions. Hello, everyone. I am Sam Schreiber. I am the Director of Solutions at FFW, a global agency that's focused on the strategy and development of excellent digital experiences. I've been working in and among Drupal and Drupalists for my entire web career, spanning the last decade. And before I think more about that and the period of time that has passed, I'm going to pass it over to Dave to introduce himself.
Thanks so much, Sam. I'm Dave Sawyer. I'm the Director of Insights and Optimization at FFW as well. We're the data and analytics team at our agency. And I too have spent a long time in the Drupal community. I'm a proud 10-year member of the Drupal Association and have presented numerous talks at DrupalCons and Drupal events in the past. So I'm super excited to be here at my first remote DrupalCon experience.
Mine as well. And before we move on, we do want to just mention that in the session description, you might have seen mention of our colleague, Ben Allgood, who is not feeling well today. So we will be carrying on without him, but he is here very much in spirit. All right. So in the digital age of effective customer engagement, that is really powered by digital experiences. It's right there in the name. And as the slides show, digitally mature companies are more profitable. The MIT Initiative on Digital Economy found that 23%, that digitally mature companies were 23% more profitable than their less mature peers. But what's interesting about that is that in a survey conducted by Harvey Nash of CIOs in 2017, they found that less than 1 in 5 companies would rank themselves as very effective with digital transformation. And in fact, that same survey found that over 50% would not classify themselves as would classify themselves as not effective at all. So why is this, right? The challenge with conceiving and executing effective digital transformation is that it's very complex. Digital experiences are complex. And for a satisfying customer experience to exist, everything must appear simple and seamless. But as we all know, beneath that customer-facing simplicity are all the ideas and decisions, all the various tools and systems, the time and the money and the expertise that are necessary to enable success with that experience. It's a massive undertaking to do it right, and many organizations struggle to manage all of that in a cohesive way, especially as circumstances change within their organization or the world, as we have seen in the past year, or there are just other unexpected bumps along the way. And this is where a digital experience platform, or DXP, can make the difference between success and failure. So what is a DXP, and how does it factor into the equation? Gartner defines DXP as an integrated set of core technologies that support the composition, management, delivery, and optimization of contextualized digital experiences. I know it's a mouthful, but as you can see from their Magic Quadrant, it maps out a selection of the leading DXP solutions offered on the market, from Adobe and Acquia to Kentco. The problem with this chart and the implications that it has for Gartner's definition of DXP is that it makes DXP synonymous with a piece of technology, presenting it as though it's a single solution that is suitable for being the whole solution. At FFW, we like to think about DXP a little bit differently. At the most simplistic level, digital experience platforms enable digital experiences. That's the pretty obvious part, right? So if we think about DXP as a foundation from an enablement perspective, we can conclude that a DXP is a collection of tools and systems that enable digital experiences. In other words, as we like to put it, a DXP is a stack of capabilities, empowering your customer engagement across channels, across audiences. These capabilities range from things like content management, of course, to measurement, personalization, e-commerce, marketing, and many, many more things that aren't represented here on the slide. But it's more than just smart technology that propels a DXP to success. If you'll recall from those stats earlier, over 50% of digital transformation efforts, in the opinion of CIOs, are not effective. We believe that's because approaching a digital transformation effort or a DXP initiative as a purely technical exercise is a recipe for failure. And I represent the solutions team, which houses the solutions architects and helps to solution technical solutions. And I'm still saying that. The idea that we have is that excellent digital experiences are built by leveraging technologies, of course, that's the digital part, but they should be informed by design and measurement strategies to not only inform the creation of an intentional experience that's been grounded in your stakeholder and customer insights, but also to measure its effectiveness and have mechanisms for acting on what you learned. So technologies, when coupled with these strategies, can be transformative and the basis of an effective DXP that creates a stack of capabilities you can use to succeed. So where does Drupal fit in? With its really long and rich history of focusing on composability, Drupal is really well suited as the foundation for any DXP. Its core competencies in API-first architecture and atomic data structures ensure that as a content management framework, it can enable myriad customer experiences through integrations, native functionality, contributed modules, or even just smart architecture decisions. And you're probably thinking about, because it's DrupalCon 2021, utilizing headless or decoupled Drupal in the context of thinking about a DXP. And that can provide a very robust and strong core to power everything from your websites to your online store, marketing campaigns, ads, and more. And there have been a multitude of decoupled and headless talks throughout this conference that really explore that facet of Drupal's nature. Today, what Dave and I wanted to talk through is how you can move as an organization along that digital maturity spectrum so that you can be more profitable while still targeting being in that 19% plus very effective group for digital transformation. And we're going to do that through talking about taking a more traditional stack based in Drupal and starting to think about your platform as the groundwork for composable, scalable DXP, focusing on content composability. So with that, Dave, would you mind talking us through a little bit about what we mean by composability and why Drupal's a great fit?
Absolutely. So for me, this word composability is actually really fun in this conversation because it refers to multiple things. At a high level, composability is describing a system that is changeable, allowing parts to be swapped out or rearranged for different needs. So in one sense, composable DXP is describing the platform or the stack itself and the individual pieces of that stack and how those can be rearranged according to the needs of a specific business or organization. But as we dig in on that, let's ask, with Drupal positioned as a piece and an important one of a composable DXP, what makes Drupal particularly good at being composable and fitting in this way? And the first one has to do with flexible architecture. Here we are at the largest Drupal event in the world. So many of us working on solving problems today with different needs for solutions architecture based on Drupal. And one of the most common topics within this has to do with the idea of to couple or not to couple. So we're referring here to the idea that Drupal in one way can deliver an experience where the back end and the front end are coupled. They're delivered and integrated as one cohesive unit. Drupal also can support decoupled architectures, where the front end is a completely separate application and is abstracted from the back end, which is where we're storing the content in the files. So Drupal actually is super flexible in the sense that it works in many different scenarios with regard to this idea of coupling. And one of the reasons why this is really important is that as organizations are going through digital transformation initiatives, moving away from a traditional CMS setup towards a fully articulated digital experience platform, what they need often is flexibility to start to swap out pieces of their stack over time and to choose from the best in breed tools to arrange just the stack that suits their particular needs. So this is one of the main reasons that Drupal is an ideal CMS platform in a DXP stack, is that it allows for any range of coupling, from fully decoupled to progressively or partially decoupled to coupled entirely. The next one has to do with Drupal's strengths. And one of Drupal's strengths, I think we can all agree, has to do with how effective it is at managing highly structured content. For years, this has been a strength of Drupal, and today it's even stronger than ever at this. Taxonomy, tagging, content types, fieldable entities, relationships between entities, the inner workings of Drupal make it an ideal content management platform to manage content that's highly structured. And this is a good thing for many different types of use cases outside of traditional content management, which we'll get into in just a few minutes. The third has to do with feature extendability. Drupal itself is super extensible and customizable. You can leverage pre-built functionality or install modules, but you can also write your own functionality and extend it in the way you need. And as we've said, flexibility is key to composability. And lastly, platform integrations. If you think of a DXP as a stack, as we're suggesting today, then the CMS within that stack is inevitably going to need to integrate with many other systems. Drupal might integrate with a content syndication system, or a customer data platform, or a CRM system, or a product information database. So depending on your unique needs, there are going to be many points of integration, and therefore you need a platform that's really good at integrations and an API-first approach. So these are four of the main reasons why Drupal, compared to other CMS platforms, for example, is really well suited as a platform to build out your composable DXP. But as we're talking about the idea of the composable DXP today as a stack, let's not get too lost in the technology, because that's a whole range of challenges for organizations, connecting lots of systems. We have to remember that part of the success of rolling out a DXP is remembering that a DXP is about delivering composable dynamic experiences, which ultimately comes back to the content in those experiences. So composable experiences start, in a sense, with composable content. And so let's break down a little bit about what that means. And so you can start to consider these topics as you're planning your move towards this type of architecture. One of the most in-demand topics in our conversation as an agency is how to move away from one-size-fits-all website designs and page-based websites towards highly contextualized, personalized experiences that allow organizations to tailor content to the unique needs of a particular audience segment and to conduct experiments to allow content to flow and change dynamically in real time. So to do that, you need to have experiences and designs that are meant to be composable. And this is why I said earlier that I think the word composable is sort of fun here, because in one lens, it's describing the composability of the stack itself and the components of the stack. But through another light, the idea of composable describes the experience and how the experience can have parts that are changeable, swappable, and can be rearranged in different contexts depending on the needs of different audience segments. So this is maybe an overlooked area as an organization aims to move towards a DXP architecture, building out their stack. Oftentimes, a lot of the focus is on technology, but we need to come back to content and make sure that we're planning in this initiative towards highly contextualized composable experiences, that content management needs are looked at in this dynamic and composable way as well.
Yeah, and one of the common discussions that we have as an agency around getting started in this space is the discussion of systems architecture and the technical solution that will solve the customer experience needs and the challenges of the business. And often through the process of getting to know our clients and working with them, where we spend the bulk of our decision-making and strategizing time is exactly in this space, really boiling it down to who are your audiences, what content do they need, and in what context, and how can we structure that in a way that will allow you to do all of those things from that capability side that you may be wanting to tackle: personalization, experimentation, and all the Asians that we're talking about these days in the digital space. Before we get into questions and talk a little bit more about some of the topics you all may be curious about, given the context of our presentation today, we wanted to leave you with this quote from Mark Twain. The secret of getting ahead is getting started, and the secret of getting started is breaking your complex, overwhelming tasks into small, manageable tasks and starting on the first one. We truly believe as an agency that that is the best way to look at digital transformation, digital maturity, evolution in the digital space. And for all the reasons Dave outlined and many, many more, Drupal is a wonderful system for giving you the power to do that. And we hope that through talking through and thinking through DXP and what it can mean for you, we've given you a way to take this concept of a DXP and make it more digestible, rather than thinking of it as this massive monolithic system that you have to spend years and millions investing in, and then you can have this cutover moment and a big reveal that you're now on your DXP as opposed to your old system, that you can think of DXP more as we do, as a stack of capabilities. And if you're looking at it from a capability standpoint, you can, as Mark Twain says, break it into small manageable tasks and just start with the first one. And as you think about transforming or creating a DXP, we hope that you'll keep Drupal in mind and FFW as well. And we wanted to thank you for your time today. And if you were interested in FFW's thoughts more in the design system space, Dave and our colleague Ben have presented on the very topic of optimizing design systems for DXP, and we've linked that presentation from Acquia Engage in our presentation deck.